You mentioned Hassan Shahata. Nigeria actually had a chance to have Shahata as their coach. You've mentioned that you wanted Nigerian coaches, but you can recognize how good a coach he was in African terms, and he actually understands African football and Nigerian football because you have to. To have done what he has done, he has to understand African football. Do you think that was a major missed opportunity for Nigerian football?
Well, obviously, if I was going to recommend an African for as coach of Nigeria's national team, I would look in the direction of Hassan Shahata, because I know he was a great player. I played against him. He was older than me, but we played at about the same time. And I had a relationship with him. A great guy, great fellow, and a fantastic coach. The records are there for everybody to see. And as you said, he's an African, and he understands African football. That's why he was able to manage at club and national levels to win all the laurels that he did. So if you are looking for a foreigner, look amongst yourselves in Africa for a Hassan Shahata who has done it before. That's the most I can do when you are talking of foreigners. But in Nigeria, as I said, we have our coaches. We'll give them a chance. We sink or swim with them, but with time it will work. And the time is not far-fetched at all. If we have succeeded as well as we have done, African teams have succeeded as well as they have done, which is not much with the foreign coaches, with the foreign white coaches from Europe. It is not much. So there's nothing to lose, really. Nothing to lose. Our African coaches have done as well, if not better, than the European coaches that are coming here. Stephen Keshi obviously did better. Amadou Shuaibu obviously did better. Samson Siasia is a living example of those that have really, really succeeded. So they have done even better. So why would we now, still be knocking our heads against, the wall, trying to get people that cannot do better than what our people are doing? I would look inwards. A Hassan Shahata for me, even at the evening of his life, because he's aging now and he may not be as agile, but he's alive. He is conversant with what is going on in football. It has nothing to do with his age. I would be, if I owned a club in Nigeria, Hassan Shahata is the man I would go for. For sure, I would have gone for him a long time ago to get him to come and coach the big club that I have in Nigeria or in other African countries. Yes, well ahead of all the Europeans, grade 3, grade 4 coaches that are all going all over the place, recycling themselves from country to country and using the records, the average records that they achieve in Africa as their credentials for being great coaches, things they cannot do in Europe. No, I will stop that. That is a further enslavement, a mental enslavement. We are fueling the embers of discrimination and racism. That's what we're doing. Because those are the vestiges of racism. We bring people who do not qualify. We bring them here to come and be masters and be teaching us. What will they teach us? The world is not designed. It's not designed on its own the way it is. Structurally, the world is not designed so that the African should flourish and become amongst the best and biggest powers in the world. It's not designed. And that also has to do with football. Otherwise, why would there be all those cat calls in Europe when African players are doing well, they are playing on the field, and they'll be abusing them, monkey chants and all those things. And it's continuing. 500 years we have been at this, and it is still continuing. Why don't we face the reality? Let's face the reality, rather than fan the embers of that mentality that something is superior, that a human being somewhere is superior, when we obviously know that the records, the statistics show that it is not so. So why can't we just face that reality? And we are not talking of going to the moon, by the way. We are not talking of going to Mars. We are talking of playing football on a football field. I'm ashamed that we were even thinking Europe to come and coach us in football these days.
Nigeria has the African Cup of Nations coming up and also World Cup qualification. What is the minimum that is acceptable to you as a Nigerian for your team to do in both competitions?
No, no, no. I can't set those standards. But I know that in Europe right now, Nigeria has a pool of very good players who are doing well in their clubs, in different clubs. And, you know, if you can get the time and a good manager to put them together, the time is of essence. If you can find the time and a good manager to put them together, Nigeria will do well against any team in the world. I'm not saying they will win, but they can play. Nigeria, of course, everybody knows that Nigeria can play against any team in the world. And on a good day, when you are lucky, anything can happen. So in AFCON, we know our mates in Africa, of course. We know that there are certain countries that are difficult for us to play against, you know, naturally. Outside of those ones, Nigeria will always beat certain countries if we have a good coach. We don't have a good coach for now. If we have a good coach, and I hope that they will get us a good coach, at the minimum, one of our Nigerian ex-internationals to have support of a few others, like a consortium. We will go to Cameroon, and as we have been doing through all the years, without even any much effort, we get to the last four. Without much effort, we always get to the last four. So why would you expect anything less than that? So, but with the caliber of players we have now, if we have all of them available, we can win the Nations Cup. So that's the least we can do, get to the finals of the Nations Cup. And of course, going to the World Cup, me, I'm just surprised that we are struggling. The teams we've had to play against, as they said, there are no more minors in African football. Oh, there are minors in African football. The difference between day and night is so obvious. And I'm not going to say that any team can beat any team. No. There are certain teams that must not beat Nigeria with the players we have, the teams we have, and so on and so forth. No, some teams just do not just come and beat us anyhow. So going to the World Cup, it's time. It's time that Nigeria got beyond the second round. It's time that we got beyond the second round. And we still have some time between now and then. If we can fix it and fix it well, definitely, if we can fix it and fix it well, definitely, I will start to be one of those that will start to hope that if we had an Osimhen, if we had, no, don't let me even mention their names, but we have the players. If we have them well blended the way they should be, under the leadership of somebody who can motivate them, who can inspire them, who can train them, get the best out of them, we might even get beyond the quarterfinals or up to the quarterfinals.
How long do you think it will take for an African team to win the World Cup? And do you think the allocation of just 5 World Cup places is enough? And I know it's rising to 9, but that's with 48 teams. Is it enough?
Well, I had predicted many decades ago that in the year 2010, an African country will win the World Cup. 2010, when it was hosted in South Africa. Had we done what we needed to do, an African country would have won the World Cup. And we came very close. We came we came within a few seconds of Ghana qualifying for the semifinals of that World Cup. I predicted after that in the year 2030, for some reasons, I was hoping that it would be the turn of Africa to host the World Cup again in 2030. And the methodology for hosting the World Cup in 2030 would be such that would give Africa the opportunity again of being host to win the World Cup. Because outside of being host, it's going to be very, very difficult for now. So I was hoping that by 2030, an African team would be able again to win the cup. But before then, I don't see it. We need that advantage. Once we get that first advantage to win it, then that psychological barrier, that inferiority complex, that shield that prevents us from seeing the possibility of winning that World Cup will be broken forever. And Africa will start to compete. We need to do it once. We did it at the Olympic Games. Nigeria went to the Olympic Games. It wasn't the best team at the Olympics, but you saw how they played. They won the Olympic Games. And after that, what happened? Cameroons. When we were playing at a certain grade level, Nigeria went and won at under 17, something that nobody believed was possible. They even asked how they assembled the team was such that, you know, so very many people didn't even know how they assembled the team. They just assembled the team, went on to play and played brilliantly and won the cup. Since then, you can start to count how many third world countries have won that cup. So it just takes doing it the first time to break the calabash, doing it the first time to break that jinx of impossibility. So I foresee, if we do what we need to do in the next 1 year, and we can get Africa to host the World Cup in 2030, in accordance to my thought of how the World Cup should be hosted by Africa, the next one, not the mistake we made in South Africa 2010, but in the way we're going to host it in 2030, it would be unleashing the most powerful football team that will win that World Cup that year. It would be unleashing the most powerful development weapon for Africa. And by this, I mean the development of Africa as a continent can be tied to the power of football to impact communities and peoples and countries. And Africa would never be the same if we host the World Cup in 2030 in accordance to the vision of how I believe the World Cup should be hosted. And let me put it this way. In 2002, after Korea, Japan, I came back to Nigeria and everybody said, oh, the co-hosting between Korea and Japan was not a success. Oh, the world should not go in that direction anymore. That was what FIFA said. I went to see Mr. Sepp Blatter in Zurich. I went to see him with the Minister for Sports in Nigeria. And I sold the idea of a regional West Africa World Cup to Mr. Sepp Blatter. And he listened to me and he said, wow, this is brilliant. If this can be proposed, you can be guaranteed that some of us in FIFA would support. I came back to Nigeria and I sold the idea to the then president of Nigeria. He bought the idea. We went to Ghana, we went to Benin, we went to Togo, we went to the Cameroon to sell the idea of a regional World Cup that could have changed the West African sub-region forever. It wasn't the football that was going to be played. It was the vision, the dream of our founding political fathers to have a united West Africa, turned West Africa into an economic community, into one hub, where one visa into one country in West Africa gives you access to the whole region, where 250 million people live and become a market, where you can have collaboration in terms of security and immigration and all of that, where you can have one currency serving the whole of that region. We are not talking football now. We are just talking the spin-offs of what that country, that region hosting the World Cup would have done if we had hosted a regional World Cup. But some people did not see it. This was in 2002, 2003. Now, the world as a whole, we saw how Europe hosted the European Cup. We saw in 2026, a continent is going to host the World Cup. An entire continent, America, Canada, and Mexico are going to host the World Cup. The world has just woken up to what I posited in 2002 of a region hosting the World Cup. The world is waking up to it. It makes absolute sense. Where one country hosts the World Cup out of over 200 countries in the world, and it is monopolized by the most powerful of them, and yet you give, and they benefit from it. And now there's a whole region that will benefit from co-hosting it. Africa is the continent that needs the World Cup more than any other continent the world, because it will help the development that is not coming through now. Football is a very, very powerful tool. Nelson Mandela said it without even knowing appreciating the full extent of its capacity and capability, that sport has the power to change the world. David Beckham just said it recently also. I saw it on CNN, where he said football has the power to influence the whole of society. That is what that game is. That game is not just a game. It is a tool for development. It's a tool for integration. It's a tool for developing friendships, for conflict resolution. It's a tool for developing the environment. It's a tool for empowerment. It's a tool for education. We can use football to eradicate illiteracy in some parts of Africa. We can use the game of football. We can use it to engage our youths in the creative world. That huge global football industry is a huge global industry. I don't know how much they say it is worth now. Probably $4 trillion or something like that. That's what the industry, and the industry is just growing. And it covers the whole spectrum of life. Football is not just about playing on the field as a player. That is the least activity that goes on. The least activity that goes on in the football business is the football itself that is being played. If you go to Ajax Amsterdam Arena in Amsterdam, they will tell you about that arena and what it does to the Dutch community, the Dutch country as a whole. Its input into life in Holland. And they will tell you that on that pitch, the arena itself, the football that takes place there is 3 hours in 2 weeks. They play their matches once every 2 weeks. It's filled up with people, bam, 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 and everybody goes away. Yet the place does not sleep. It works 24 hours, 8 days a week. They are doing all other kinds of activities imaginable and all around a football arena. So football is not just a game. It is a fraction. It is a microcosm of a bigger world and a bigger industry. It can impact, it can change the world. Africa has to use football, has to use sports, because it's not just football. The Kenyans, we have the runners in Kenya. We have the rugby players in South Africa. We have the sprinters in West Africa. We have all of those gifts. Those are our mineral resources. We can put those gifts together, those things together, and channel them into areas where they can impact lives and society and build us a new Africa that our political founding fathers wanted, where you build a road from Cairo to Johannesburg. That was the dream. It never happened. There's crisis along that route. They wanted a road or a monorail system from Dakar to Eden. It never happened. But you see, it can happen. If you think, that's what we need to do. We need to use that which we have, which the world cannot deny us. The world has denied us everything in Africa. The opportunities to develop ourselves in industry, they have cut us down. Our mineral resources, they are taking abroad and converting and bringing it back, and we are buying them at higher prices. They are not making, this world, the architecture of the world is not designed so that the Africans should succeed. But we have a game of football that has created the level playing field for all of us, and we can use it. So that's my gospel. We can use it. In 2030, if we do what we're supposed to do, Africa will win the World Cup for the first time. And once we do, then we can start to win it afterwards.
We have been talking for quite a while about the development of sport and the use of sport with people like Simon Biwott, with Samuel Matete and others. Could you expand on what your plans are for the development of sport throughout Africa and how it will benefit Africa as a whole?
Well, you know, it's about recognizing sport and its power and what it can do, what it can influence, and what it can empower. We have to understand it. Once we limit our thoughts to trophies and medals, When you mention sports and you're talking trophies and medals and cups, then that's not my vision. That is important because that could be a catalyst for interest, a catalyst for young people to make money, to become part of the economic ecosystem of their different countries. As in Kenya now, for example, Kenya is known for its middle and long distance runners. There's a huge industry for that in Kenya. If you go to some parks in Nairobi, you will find children, adults, running in their thousands, just running. And they are all looking for opportunities within that sphere of runners around, running competitions around the world, where marathons and cross-country races are going on everywhere. In all countries that have these races, marathon races, you will find Kenyans there. And if you add up what contributions that makes to the economy of Kenya, it is massive. They are developing a sports tourism industry in Kenya now, and that's around sports. It is an awakening of the power of sports to do those things. The biggest setback to doing those things is the neglect of those who should be in the vanguard of promoting this. The legends, those that have succeeded, those great athletes who are medalists from the Olympics, who are medalists at world championships, who are, the people, when they speak, you listen. You listen. Diego Drogba, after a match victory, called on his people, just said to them, please, my people, why are you killing yourselves? Why are you having this war? We are here representing you and winning laurels. Why don't you just stop this war? Let us have peace and friendship so that you can enjoy the game we are playing. It was a message that resonated. That is what we are talking about. We have to involve those who can be models, these successful legends of African sports have to be awakened from wherever they are. And they make them the poster boys, the ambassadors of this great project to use sports as a weapon to change Africa. That is one weapon we can use. We have failed politically. They won't let us economically. Culturally, they have taken all our culture and turned it into their own. But in sport, we still have opportunities, and they exist. In the East, we have the great runners of the East. In the West, we have the great sprinters and power lifters of the West. In the North, we have them also, the great middle and long distance runners in the West. Like that, we have to harness these gifts that we have, naturally endowed on us physically by nature itself, to start to promote all other things that would make us the greatest people on earth once again.
For the last few years, I have been going around Africa and talking to various people, trying to help the legends of African football, people who did great things in terms of the liberation struggles of Africa and also football, but they did it before there was any payment from football. And many of them are in a situation where they're very elderly and they don't have proper medical attention, they don't have proper food, and they don't have proper way of life. What do you think should be done for these legends? Because I know this is all over Africa. I hear it virtually everywhere I go. I hear that the same story is happening.
Well, if we expect others to do them for us, that would be a problem. Because there are all other problems. If you're looking at governments, for example, governments have all other issues they are contending with. No hospitals, no schools, no this, no that. So when you bring up the issue of retired athletes who are neglected and are suffering, they just see it as pedestrian. They don't take it seriously. So a whole country, one of the biggest countries in Africa, listed its priority areas, 41 priority areas of development in the 21st century, and left out the most important one, which has to do with youth, sports, and of course, their education. How is that possible? So you see, the problems that we confront us are such that will becloud the issue of the welfare of athletes. Yet it is the foolish things of this world that will confound the wise and change the situation. In those athletes, you have heroes. In those athletes, you have people that have done and achieved. You have models that are worshipped by the youth, that the youth will listen to. You have assets you cannot buy in the marketplace, invaluable assets in our legends, but we are not using them. And governments are so, I don't know, they have their problems, so they don't see. And here in Africa, anything that does not have government hardly succeeds. So we have to start to domesticate those issues and start to deal with them ourselves. And Satish, I'm happy and I'm glad to say it, in this, our conversation, that you are doing a great deal to reawaken the dead bones that just lie there wasting of our legends in Africa. You are reawakening them. You have put me in touch with so many of them. We are now in communication, and we are all seeing the possibilities of collaboration and cooperation that we can have. We are taking our own future into our own hands now. We want to start to come out and be relevant and be seen to be relevant and seek support from individuals and corporations and organizations so that we can be lifted. And hopefully in lifting us, governments will see our relevance and the part we can still play to help in influencing and developing the communities and society. So that's the route we are taking now. I don't know if it will work. I'm hoping it will work. I thank you for the work that you are doing. I thank you for putting me in touch with my brother Samuel Matete, with BWAT in Kenya. I've been speaking with Phil Badbai. I have spoken with Edwin Moses. I have spoken with Ron Davis, Rod Freeman, and so on and so forth. These are our African brothers in America. These are our African brothers in several countries. And we are sharing notes and setting up, small infrastructure and maybe institutions that will help us to bring us back into the limelight, bring us back into the consciousness of governments so that they can see our relevance and come and support us. So I don't know. On that note, I just want to thank you very much for all the work that you are doing. Nobody's paying you for it, but I can assure you that the universe is watching you, and the universe will reward you abundantly here and even beyond.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about any of the subjects that we've discussed, or even ones we haven't?
I think you have covered more than enough ground for today. The conversation cannot end. It cannot end because we still have to, cross the T's and dot the I's, put the details into this picture that we paint of possibilities. And, that's a lot of work still to be done. So we will still continue to have the conversations as we go along. Once again, thank you, Satish, for this interview. It has brought out so much out of me, and set me on course once again to be determined to continue to do what we have set out to do.
Segun, thank you very much.